to my house. Friends! Take 387. So last Thursday I was at gymnastics. I did a standing back tuck, landed horribly, and ended up hurting my knee. We don't know exactly what's wrong with it, but that accounts for the awkward hobbling and weird movements. Moving forward though, I wanted to do a tour of my house. It is right at the peak of summer 2019, and I wanted to do a tour of my house before it becomes any less crazy and I forget some of these beautiful names.
Hobble on over.
Starting at the bookshelf, I used to keep this Pearl and Jade Pothos in my windowsill, but she's growing at such a fast rate that I really just need to find a larger space for her. She's a little bit more of a hardy pothos. Her leaves are more firm. I was doing a little bit of research, and she reminds me quite a bit of the medulla pothos, where they have more of like a ruffled leaf. Just because this plant has so many like different characteristics. Now it is supposed to be like a good low light plant, but this plant has been doing so well in really, really bright light. I water it every couple of days. It's almost doubled in size in maybe a month since I gave Jay quite a big chunk of this plant. Pearl and Jade Pothos. Maybe something else, maybe unidentified. But she is a beautiful one. Right here I have my heart-shaped philodendron. What is the philodendron? Scandens! No help from my amazing cameraman there. So this was one of my $2 finds. Like, I have quite a few plants that I picked up from Walmart. They were doing like a middle of the summer clearance sale. They had all their little nursery babies on sale for $2. Did not go to buy plants. Came home with like 5 plants. She was in a nursery pot for quite a while, but she wasn't growing. I put her in this terracotta and she has taken off. She's been in this pot for a couple of weeks. Again, she gets really great morning sun and she's been thriving really well. One fact that I learned about these plants is philodendron are some of the most poisonous plants to people and pets. So you want to like keep them out of reach of children, of cats. I didn't know this, but for people they're more on the mild side, but they can cause like really bad nausea in our feline friends.
Good to know.
Right. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Right here we have Algerian Ivy that Jay so graciously gifted to me. I absolutely love this plant. Where did you get this plant from?
HEB for $1.
What? Isn't that crazy? I am madly in love with Algerian Ivies. I think they are one of the most striking plants, highly underrated. Look at that leaf. I mean, this is just an absolutely gorgeous plant. It's in some hydrating soil. It is in a small pot, so I do water this quite frequently. And again, she gets, I would say, medium to bright indirect sunlight. I'm really excited to see this grow. She's putting off quite a few new shoots. His name's Alan. Algerian Alan. I really try hard to put my plants where they're gonna get enough sunlight, but also where they're aesthetically pleasing because, let's face it, I like things to look pretty.
Say something about, sorry to cut you off, about it being variegated, because you just said Algerian Ivy.
Oh, Alan, my variegated Algerian Ivy.
Yeah.
He's so handsome.
Dapper little dude. I wouldn't try to grab anything, just point. I got you on the shots.
This is my beautiful Peperomia obtusifolia variegata. I had to practice this name quite a bit. Again, a $2 clearance item. I put her very quickly into this terracotta pot and she has just blossomed. she gets a little bit more sunlight than the Pothos at the bottom, but I do try and pull her out as much so that she gets as much light throughout the day as possible. She's a happy lady. Moving up to the very, very top, I am noticing all of my very yellowing leaves on my peace lily. Because of my knee injury, these plants have become severely neglected the last few days because I can't get up there. I really wanted to cut those leaves off before doing this tour, but I wanted to keep it as authentic as possible, and yes, I kill plants too.
To be fair, they're just dying off as they're supposed to. That's what they do.
Even the leaves too. I know the flowers have been looking quite green and now brown, but those are the first yellowing leaves I've seen on that plant thus far. Hopefully that is the extent of it. And then I have my variegated English ivy right here. I just love how viney and drapey she is. It's probably going to get moved because I can't get up there anymore. But she's hanging in there. She's hanging in there well. Hobbling to the left, here is my Sebe Blue Pothos. I actually got this plant at Walmart to put on a moss pole and put her on my patio at the beginning of the next growing season because these leaves will actually start to get fenestrations. How freaking amazing is that? Just a stunning plant. Here is my Ceropegia linearis subspecies woodii. Thank you, Summer Rain Oaks. Ring of Hearts, also known as a rosemary vine.
Oh, rosary.
Rosary vine. I tried not to mess that up too. So upon further inspection, so these nodes will form, what are they called? Tubulars. They'll form tubulars which will actually sprout off roots. So if you were to lay this string of hearts on top of the soil, that tubular would sprout roots and would start growing. I had no idea. I stayed up all night on YouTube learning as much about this plant as possible. This plant started off as just like very, very pitiful dying cuttings that we brought home from Austin, put in some water, still weren't thriving, so I put them in soil and they have taken off. Literally every green leaf you see here is new growth. All of the older leaves have just started to dry up and fall off, but she's still shooting off new growth. So everyone in my house knows you do not touch this plant. Everybody, for any reason, no one touches this plant. Over here, this is a propagated.
Third time's the charm.
Third time. This is a propagated cutting from my mother string of pearls plant that me and Jay got in Austin on our first Austin shopping trip. We really lucked out that time. So I literally just took a couple strands, put them in water. When I didn't see any kind of growth or movement, I put them in just a hydrating soil mix, like cactus soil mix, and they are flourishing. I know you're supposed to, when propagating, you're supposed to wrap them around the center. Well, I didn't want that. I wanted them to be long, luscious, and vining because they were in my kitchen window. And now they have rooted beautifully. For a while, they were like oblong shaped. They almost look like a string of tears. I realized I just wasn't watering enough. So I'll give them a really good soak. And this is not a draining pot. There's no drainage hole. So I'll give them really good amount of water, and then I put them in my kitchen window so that it can absorb the excess water. That's been my trick for non-draining pots dealing with succulents. Really, you're playing Russian roulette here, people. Don't be me. Get a drainage hole.
Get a drainage hole, can I quote you?
Here is my Bonnie spider plant. I got her at Walmart, guys. She was looking extremely sad. So many of her ends died. I learned recently that the more stress these plants are in, the more curlier they will be. So a happy, healthy plant is going to straighten out, then a very high stress plant will be more curly. How do you stress a plant out? I don't know. That's the only plant that I kind of want to stress out. We want that curl. We want to encourage the curl.
And the Hoya, so they flower.
Oh, and the Hoyas. We're getting close to the Hoyas, people. Bear with me, bear with me. Okay, I'll be a little faster. Here's my Philodendron Brazil. This is a rooted cutting I took off of my mother plant that you're gonna see in a few minutes. Absolutely gorgeous. It's in a terracotta pot. I have to water it quite frequently because this does get very bright morning sun. Probably for like 2 hours it gets direct morning sun from these big windows. Really, the only key is to keep it watered. These are my Marble Queen Pothos cuttings from my mother plant outside. I had them rooting in water. They looked ridiculous. They were so pitiful, yellowing, curling. Aww. And I decided just to pot them up. As soon as I potted them up, everyone came to life, everyone perked up. It's crazy. Some cuttings do really good in water, some cuttings do terrible in water, literally from the same plant. So don't give up, try different methods that work for you, or work for the plant. It really is just a step-by-step. Another set of blue that I literally took from this plant. It was already a rooted cutting. I really just wanted something long and drapey to fill this spot. It is what it is. This is, I could probably pull this one down. This was my very first rooted Monstera Adansonii cutting that I propagated, rooted, planted. I love the simplicity of just the 2 leaves. There's been no new growth, but there's also been no brown spots, no yellowing, no curling. I do try and water this plant as often as I can remember, just because it is in terracotta and it does dry out kind of quickly. So far she's doing good. I love the look of this worn terracotta, 2 little leaves.
Super cute.
Okay, moving on down. This is my teardrop peperomia. I have not learned the official name of it, but she's a little bit fuzzy. Did you know that? Yeah, some of the leaves are like very, almost like plasticky or almost feel like a silicone or a rubber. But the new growth have these little tiny hairs that make them
that's funny.
Super like velvety. It's very cool. You want to feel it? Feel those, like this one.
Ooh, it almost feels like paper.
Isn't that crazy? I don't really know a whole lot about this plant, to be honest. It does feel like it's more of a succulent variety. Teardrop peperomia. Do you have anything more? Do you have anything to say about this plant?
I know nothing.
I know. Yeah. Here is my Peperomia Ripple that we got on our latest Austin trip. Okay, let me pull this out. The adorableness of this plant never escapes me. The really cool thing about this plant though is that they literally just leaf propagated it. They planted a single leaf and it has sprouted into its own plant. How crazy and cool is that?
Nature.
When this plant gets a little bit larger, it will have more of an iridescent, I would say. Like it has more of a shimmery sheen to it. I'm really excited to watch this plant grow. I also am in no rush to replant it because I love this cute little size for the bookshelf. On down to Syngonium Steve. Syngonium Steve is his actual name is called a Syngonium padum.
Exactly.
He is the most common type of vining syngoniums. He does need a good amount of light to thrive. They will do pretty well in like low to medium light, but he does best in bright indirect sunlight. Guys, this is his newest leaf. This plant went from looking so incredibly sad for weeks and then all of a sudden just made a turn for the better. Full 360 recovery. His brand new leaf is it's just striking. Syngoniums were never the plant that really jumped out at me and caught my eye. There's something special about this plant. It's green, but he's incredibly special. This is what I call our compromising table. This is Slim Shady, everybody. Here I have my, I can totally cut all of that out. Here I have my Prince of Orange Philodendron. This It has grown. Can you tell? It has grown so much already since I brought it home. I would say this is definitely a fast growing plant. In my experience, all of my philodendrons have grown really, really well. So whenever it shoots out a new leaf, it is bright, bright orange, and then it's gonna get greener as it matures. We have a very new shoot coming in. I'm very excited to see this like pure orange leaf. I also, you know what? I'm such a big fan of green plants. I really love
Well, it's a good thing.
pure greenery, right? Here's Tina. Tina, my tiny dancer Alocasia. What can I say about Tina? She's kind of feisty. She does a lot of leaning with the sun. Like I make sure and move her quite regularly because she does kind of throw temper tantrums. I've noticed that the older leaves do start to yellow and fall off. The first time it happened, I was really freaked out, like, what am I doing wrong? Then I just learned that's just a part of her characteristic. So that's Tina, the tiny dancer. She does like to be pretty moist. I let her dry out in between waterings, but I do water her about 3 times a week, if not more, because she's in this terracotta. This is just another cutting, propagated cutting from my mother plant outside. This was the first one that I did. And this is my Hoya Cardosa Compacta, also known as Hindu rope. This plant brings me so much joy. I'm not quite sure what it is about Hoyas, but I love Hoyas. They are quickly becoming my favorite genus or plant species. This does very, very well in very bright indirect sunlight. They are slow growers, but if you give them the best environments, they will be a much better plant for you. High humidity, much higher than most houseplants. They like 40 to 60% humidity. I learned a kind of a cool trick. You can set this pot on top of a bowl that has rocks and waters, and that will build humidity up around this plant and help it do a little bit better. I have up here my little baby monstera from my very first monstera plant that I got. I split it all up and you'll see lots more of them. This has been its first leaf. I was honestly just going to throw this plant out because it has had so much damage from being outside, but you know what? She's still living. Here is another cutting from that same monstera, popping out a new leaf. I'm so excited to see what that new leaf is gonna hold. Some deer antlers, thank you, Justin's dad. we love to throw in some cool Western aesthetics. This is my Algerian Ivy that my mother-in-law Brenda gave to me. She claimed that she killed plants. I love Algerian Ivies. It was a match made in heaven. Guys, this leg and that leg are all completely new, and I've only had this plant for a couple of months. It has just taken off. She was actually the first plant I ever had on my entire shelf. I didn't think this room got enough light to sustain plants. I'm glad I was wrong. Another Pothos cutting that I got from a mother plant at my boyfriend's work. It's a golden Pothos. She's doing well. She already had roots, so she is content. I have yet another cutting. I've decided to just let this guy live in water. I'm just gonna let it live in water and see how it does. On the way down to my largest success story thus far. This ivy I've talked about a few times. It was living in my bathroom on the verge of death. Itty bitty leaves, itty bitty vines. I did what I could to save it, put them in some water, put them in soil a couple of months later. And this has just turned into a massive, massive plant. From literally a 4-inch nursery pot to this in 6 months. 6 months. And check out this variegation. Isn't that crazy? There's so many different types. I've thought about putting this on a pole to see how large it will get, but so far I love it filling this space. I have no desire to change it. Okay, I kind of forget about this guy if I'm really up close. I put my snake plant up there just because I didn't want the cats to keep getting in it. I needed it to be up so they wouldn't mess with it. And it just filled this corner really, really nicely. I love her up there. I did some research on snake plants. It said that they do best if they dry out completely between waterings. They can handle some serious abuse, some serious neglect. It is perfect place for a plant that thrives in neglect. That is a mixture of black coral and Laurentii. I was needing to put my Laurentii somewhere. I just threw it in the pot with the black coral, and she looks fabulous. Here's my giant monstera plants. I just did a big video on them. If you're interested in seeing where I found them, seeing how I potted them up, you can check that out. This plant is only a year old, guys, and it has some massive leaves and massive venstrations. It's still acclimating. Fingers crossed that she does well. Over here I have my propagated Burgundy rubber tree. Literally, I just cut this off of a mother plant, just cut the stem off, put it in dirt, watered it, and it is doing so well. This is its first new leaf, and when I watered it last, I realized that there is actually roots all the way down to the bottom of this drainage hole.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see that. Isn't that cool? I was like, this plant might not survive. My Taniki rubber tree that I got for $5 at HEB, it was one of those like unexpected moments where I just like ran in to check to see what they had, and they ended up having this amazing rubber tree Taniki. My Syrian Alocasia, it's a Friedeck Sabrina hybrid. Not doing the best. My cat likes to nibble on it from time to time. She had a couple more leaves that ended up getting broken. Thank you to my cat. And also I think it was acclimating, and one of the leaves, it was just time to go. She's hanging in there. She's a champion. Okay, this is one of my pride and joys. This is my Hoya Cardosa tricolor, also known as Crimson Queen. Guys, look at all this beautiful, beautiful white growth. I realize that she has a couple new leaves coming in that have just that light pink. This plant is just loving life. She is still one of my absolute favorites. Every plant's my favorite. Who are you kidding? Hoyas are, what gets me on Hoyas, their leaves are strikingly beautiful. They don't require a lot of maintenance. They do really well with some thorough soakings called the flood and drain method, right? You flood the soil, let the excess drain off. I only have to water her once every week, maybe even once every 2 weeks. She does really well about holding on to her moisture. My second giant monstera, I got this Monstera deliciosa at the same time as I got my other one. Here's another golden pothos. I decided that I needed something to fill this area, and I've been eyeing this plant at Four Seasons for a long time, and I just made the jump and brought her home. I've gotten this come a couple times. Several people thought I had a mirror in this window. They thought that this plant outside was a reflection. Totally makes me laugh. Do you want to I can just open the completely draping on the ground now. This is the plant I've taken several cuttings off of. All my pothos, Marble Queen pothos cuttings inside are from this plant. She gets really good light. I water her every single day, and she is just my pride and joy.
Really fun.
Over here I have my Dracania, my Laurentii snake plant, one of my first monsteras. First leaf for this guy. It's been really exciting to see. My Moonshine Sansevieria, my Croton. I made the mistake of watering her, and then I put her outside. I forgot about her. She got a lot of direct sunlight. And no lie, these guys do not tolerate direct sunlight very well. Bright and direct light inside or outside. I've heard they're really great plants to put in the garden, to put in containers on the patio. Don't be like me and place in the sun and forget it, because I don't know if she's gonna actually survive. I've pulled off about 8 leaves already that were just incredibly damaged. When I filmed my video for the first time, she looked gorgeous. I'm gonna drop in some sexy B-roll of her right now. Here I have my rubber plant, my ruby rubber plant I got when I got my Taniki plant from HEB. And here was my original Burgundy rubber tree that Jade messaged me, or she called me, I can't remember. She was like, they have a rubber tree at Home Depot. It looks amazing. If you want it, go now. That's what I did. I just remember jumping in my car, telling Justin, hey, I'll be right back. I went, I got this plant, and I have never looked back. She has some new growth going. I'm actually gonna cut this out and I'm going to put her in her own pot. I'm very, very excited. Up top we have my Monstera Ansonii. We just put her on a pole. We did another video. I think she's still acclimating to this room, but she's putting off lots of new shoots, lots of new leaves. It's been really cool to see her progress. It's taken me some time to get used to seeing her up instead of vining down, but she is a very, very beautiful plant. I'm hoping in a few months she'll have some more growth and we can do some more cuttings. Here is some more of my Hoya Crimson Queens. These are the plants that I found on, I kind of just bartered with the lady to get them for a good price because they were really, really sickly. They look terrible. I ended up getting both of these Hoyas for $15 and I am so, so glad I did. This was the one I was telling you, like, don't look around. These are brand new leaves, these pink leaves right here. It's like they just came out of nowhere. This is the plant I paid $5 for, and honestly, that's probably the best decision I've ever made in my entire life, to be honest. Some Bonnie spider plant cuttings. Down here I have a couple cactuses, one that my mom gave me, one that we brought home from Austin. They were in dire need of a new home. I have no idea their names. Moving on.
Some spider babies. Oh, you have an air plant too.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
Over here I have some big ivy, some jade pothos, and my Zucchini. I love this. I love the pot. I love that arrangement right there. It gets a lot of bright light. This room gets a lot of light from the skylights, and it gets the, whenever the sun is setting, this room just fills up really nicely. This is my Algerian Ivy, my first Algerian Ivy that I ever got from Four Seasons, and it has been the star of the table ever since I brought it home. I do water it pretty frequently, a non-draining hole, but I love the way the glass bowl looks. I love being able to see the contrast of the dark soil with the roots and the greenery. It's just gorgeous. What more can I say? My first Monstera plant, doing well, doing fabulous. Not facing the right direction.
That's my fault, sorry.
It's okay, I was like telling Gage, like, put the stool on the corner. He had no idea what I was talking about. I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with my spider plant wall. It's had several Instagram appearances, it's had some video. Everyone's doing quite well. My 2 spider plants that were in these 2 jars were they weren't gonna make it. I ended up pulling them out, planting them outside, and putting these spider plants that I just pulled out of the one on my bookshelf. This is the one we got from a nursery here in town. Not doing the best, but she's still hanging in there. Maybe she needs a trim. Maybe she just needs me to walk away. Here's an orchid. It's a very, very pretty purple orchid that my children gave me for Mother's Day. Here she is in all of her glory. Her leaves fell off literally like 2 days after Mother's Day. And it's been this beautiful twig ever since. Hobble to the kitchen. Okay, here is where a lot of the magic happens. Guys, I have 3 children, 13 cats, a dog, a boyfriend. I just want to let everyone know, so much work goes into keeping this house clean. I literally work day and night. My kids probably think I'm a dictator, but you know what? I love my home. I think it's important to cherish it and keep it clean, and I don't want anyone to think that this just like happens naturally. It takes a lot of work. Small disclaimer. My silver scindapsus, Jay gifted me this plant. This was the first gift she ever gave to me. Like we were already very, very close friends, but this solidified everything. You only give someone a plant like this if you truly love and appreciate them.
Ain't that the truth?
It's there. The love is there. Thank you for being the best friend in the entire world. This plant boasts that it's a good low light plant, but it thrives in bright lights. This one will get some direct sunlight first thing in the morning. It's not too intense because it's really early morning sun, but it gets bright light throughout the day. This plant has just grown like wildfire. So every time it reaches my counter, I trim it and I put it in this sphagnum moss. This is how many times I am having to trim this plant. Probably once a month. I got this plant the beginning of May, and we're only in the beginning of August. That's 3 months. 3 months of just, it's doing fantastic. I think I'm gonna put these up top, but honestly, look how much is up top. I don't know. Maybe someone's gonna get a gift. Some nice silver scindapsus. My Ansonii cuttings, very well rooted in water. I'm going to be sending these to my friend up in Colorado. If all goes well, I'm going to think about shipping some other cuttings. But they're just in water, doing fantastic. My mother pearls. String of pearls, guys. This plant was where my Monstera Adansonii is on the bookshelf, the small little bookshelf. I brought it over here. It has been doing fantastic. Very bright light. I water it once a week. I water it all the way through. I was a little bit nervous because it was starting to get an odd shape, but everything has plumped up really nicely. Tons of new growth. Don't overthink this plant would be my best advice. I water it. I water it once a week. Good light. Other than that, this is another, like, do not touch my plant. Unless you are educated in the ways of pearls. My Philodendron micans, I learned recently that they're no longer called that. They're called Philodendron.
He'll always be called micans.
Something with an H. Yeah, someone was like, they're no longer classified as micans. I think micans is the perfect name. It's the same category as the heartleaf philodendron. It's velvety soft. What do you have to say about this plant? I know you know some things about this plant.
I don't know anything about it except for that it's amazingly beautiful and perfect.
It is amazingly beautiful.
Look at like the sun coming in behind the leaf right now. Just it's like glowing.
Yeah.
Are you
the
kidding me?
Pink, so many new shoots.
I know mine has 5 new leaves.
I counted this one last night. I counted 4. I see 3 right now. Maybe I was just no, 4. Yep. This is one of our biggest pride and joys. Right here, I'm trying something new. I have a couple of different cuttings. I have my Hoya Crinkle 8. It gets a name because it actually has 8 crinkles on each leaf. I thought that was a cool fact. And some Hoya Waieti. Tomato.
To each his own.
I was told that they do well with water propagations, but like fine gravel. I only have these massive river rocks. We're gonna see what happens. Trial and error here, right? Some string bean peperomia. I found this plant at Lowe's. It was $4. I didn't want to buy it. Jay offered to buy it for me because I literally took a picture of it and was like, this is going to be one of my wish plants. She's like, Megan, it's $4. I'll buy it for you. So I very stubbornly bought it myself. I was like, it's $4. I can buy it. If you're spending cash, does it really count?
I also did want to say earlier, you said you only had 3 peperomias and those 2 were your first ones, but this is actually...
This was numero uno, right?
Yep.
Home Depot or Lowe's?
It was at Lowe's.
Lowe's. $4. It didn't have so much new growth when I got it. I mean, it's really flourishing here in this east-facing window. To its left, I have my Hoya pink silver, not to be confused with Silver Splash. Super leggy. I'm actually going to put this guy on a trellis because he has just been searching for something to climb and cling to. He's really loving this Hawaiian spider plant that just got her new debut in my morning window. This is my Hoya Crimson Princess, Hoya Rubra, that Jay gifted me from her mother plant. This thing was super little. It's been a couple months and she's thriving. I water her 3 times a week. She gets high light. She is stunningly beautiful. My Hawaiian spider plant, I didn't even know that this was a type of spider plant until recently. I saw it in Walmart when I got my Bonnie spider plant, and nothing says the tropics like this plant that like screams Hawaii. Here, and out the window you will see an 11-year-old in his natural habitat, really displaying his acrobatic skills for you. This is some more of my cuttings that I recently potted up. If you're watching this and you're in the Victoria area, I am selling this plant. She's going to be, if you're local, she'll be $25. I'm not ready to ship plants yet. I kind of touched that a little bit, but if you're in the Victoria area, she's available. And here is my Crimson Princess, my plant that I bought from Lowe's. Holy shit, guys. It is just putting off new shoots like crazy. I was looking to see if there's any peduncles in the hopes of seeing flowers on this lovely lady. I'm crossing my fingers maybe next spring. I'm really hoping that maybe by next growing season, which is the spring, the summer, and the fall, she will bloom. She's doing really well. She's growing. She gets highlight. I am trying to recreate every possible scenario for her to give me flowers. We will see. We will see. I promise. I will catch it on film. And here's my little aloe vera plant. You know, these have great medicinal reasons. This isn't for that. This is for looks. Don't break my plant. If you have a scrape, if you have a burn, we have some lovely aloe vera growing outside, wild and free, that my children are welcome to at any time. You don't touch this plant. Look how beautiful it is. I love, most of my aloe vera plants do like these really weird shapes. Not this guy. Guys, that's everything. That is every one of my plants. I kind of wish I would have gone through and counted to see how many houseplants.
Let's count them.
Do you want to take a guess? Guess. What would be your guess?
63.
63.
Separate plants, not types of plants.
Not types. Yeah. 63. Okay. That's quite accurate. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. Okay, so I didn't touch over here. I kind of forgot about this area. I have just some guys over here propagating in some water and rocks. I have some devil backbone succulent. I know that's just a common name. I'm not sure what the actual name of this plant is. These are just little babies that my mom so kindly propagated and planted for me. My little plumosas fern, how darling is that? My Sansevieria cylindrica, and then my, what are they called? Are they,
Stay small.
they stay small. But look how much these babies have grown. This doesn't get this gets no direct light. It only gets this kind of bright diffuse light. Everything over here seems to be doing really well. I only water this area probably once every 2 weeks because everything stays quite moist for quite some time.
Your ficus plastica.
This lovely beauty is from Ross. She was one of my very first plants that I had at my old apartment. Honestly, I still love her. I have I have such a fondness for plants that don't die and are in this beautiful planters. Look how well she complements. She really just pulls this whole space together. Without it, it wouldn't be the same. I hope you guys really enjoyed this house tour. I'm not at 100%, so maybe the next one will be a little bit better, but I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got a nice feel for these houseplants and honestly how realistic it can be to own a lot of houseplants. Like, some of them have imperfections. Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but as long as you have a little bit of time, love, and some dedication to learning about your plants, it's totally possible. I feel like the air quality is just superior in here.
What did Justin's sister say? She said, the air in here is lit. Is that what she said? Is that what the kids are saying these days? The air quality in here is lit.
Pothos, ivies, and airplane plants, also known as spider plants, and sansevierias are some of the best plants for removing pollutants out of your air. I read a study that said every home should have at least 15 plants to help remove the formaldehyde, the carbon monoxide, and also pollutants like allergens from the air. I thought those were really cool facts. Lots of great benefits to having plants. I'll let all of you know in a couple months' time because I guarantee you there's going to be more plants to come. We'll see you next time.